Welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars, where we dive into the moments everyone whispers about and few truly understand. Today, we're leaning into a reunion that's been tugging at hearts and headlines alike, not because it's loud or flashy, but because of the quiet certainty radiating from it. We're talking about Cenk Torun and Mahassine Merabet, a pair whose story seems to have written itself across years, paused only to gather breath before speaking again. If you live for tales of timing, tenderness, and the soft thunder of a love that refuses to disappear, you're in the right place. Stay with us, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. What set the world buzzing? The answer is simple and complicated all at once: a rekindled romance. Not a rumor in passing, not a staged photograph, but a connection that looks and feels like it earned its second chance. Cenk and Mahassine once shared something luminous, then watched life tug them in different directions. And now, somehow, they've found their way back to a place that feels familiar and new in equal measure. How did they travel that distance? What did it take for two seasoned hearts to turn toward each other again? Let's sift through the pieces and see how they fit. Picture them long ago, two people with a spark that had no trouble catching flame. He, with the quiet magnetism that made a camera feel like a confidant, she, with soft strength and a grace that didn't need to announce itself. They tried, honestly. Then the world intruded with schedules, markets, miles, expectations. There were misunderstandings, and there were the kinds of silences that seem harmless until they become habits. The calendar pages turned. Scripts were signed, plans were made, different cities claimed them. And yet, even as the years widened the path between them, the memory of what they had didn't fossilize, it settled in, patient as a lighthouse. So when the moment finally arrived, it wasn't an accident in a crowded street, and it wasn't a dramatic scene cooked up for a camera. It was an encounter that felt neither staged nor coincidental, a carefully planned event with a strange calm at the center. They saw each other, really saw each other, and the air changed. You can imagine the rush of it. The familiarity that startles you, the polite small talk that dissolves the instant someone laughs like they used to, the delicate tremor that comes with realizing time has rearranged everything and nothing at once. It was a meeting heavy with memory, but light with possibility. What sets this story apart is the texture of it. There's no sense of a hurried reconciliation, no performance for an audience, just a measured return. You can feel the difference in their glances, in the way they carry conversations to their natural end instead of cutting them short, in the way each listens as if the other's words had been missing from their days. They aren't trying to recreate a youthful rush, they're recognizing what lingered after the rush went quiet. They're older now, sharper about who they are and what they're not, gentler with the things that truly matter. It isn't a backtrack. It's a continuation, earned the hard way. How does a reunion like this unfold? Slowly, like a melody rediscovered. It begins with stories, where they've been, who they became, which battles they fought alone. There's laughter when a shared memory shows up with a new punchline. There's the hush of empathy when the conversation reaches the bruised places, the lessons learned with a cost attached. These talks go late, not because either of them is trying to escape anything, but because neither wants to leave a moment unfinished. It's the intention that stands out. They answer each other fully, and when they ask what's next, it's not a test, it's an invitation. Then come the little things, those fleeting gestures that tell more truth than declarations do. A glance that lingers for one heartbeat longer than politeness demands. Hands that find each other by accident and stay. The quiet choreography of two people who've always known how to make space for one another, stepping aside in a hallway, pouring tea without asking, noticing when the other retreats to think and choosing stillness over interruption. These are small acts, yes, but they're also the architecture of trust. And trust is what makes second chances possible, not just desirable. There's a reason this reunion moved beyond nostalgia and became something real. Long before now, their bond had a foundation stronger than convenience or novelty. It was forged by attention and curiosity and that unteachable ease of being truly yourself in another person's presence. A bond like that can lie dormant without disappearing. It waits. And when the right circumstances arrive, when the noise dies down, when pride has softened, when purpose is clearer, it stirs awake. That's the impression Cenk and Mahassine give, not a flashback, but a reawakening. But let's not paint it like a fairy tale without edges. They each carry the life they built apart, commitments, rhythms, expectations from a world that believes it can vote on private happiness. There are flight schedules and phones that never sleep, sets that blur day into night, and the kind of pressure that pushes even quiet moments into the public eye. They've learned this the hard way, and so they step carefully. They keep some things unsaid where the microphones can't reach, they draw curtains where the lights shine too bright, and they refuse to let an audience dictate the pace. It's not secrecy, it's stewardship. What keeps them navigating the obstacles is what they've both gained in the years apart, clarity. Cenk seems more grounded now, less interested in winning the noise and more invested in protecting the calm. He knows the difference between presence and performance. And Mahassine, with that steady poise, moves like someone who has already chosen where her piece begins and ends. She isn't trying to be understood by everyone, just by the one who matters. That mutual restraint feels like new language between them, a set of rules no one else needs to read to understand. Imagine the first true hello after all this time. Not the public greeting, but the real one, where the voice drops a notch, the shoulders loosen, and home is a person, not a place. You can hear the softness in it, the unspoken "I wondered if we'd ever get here." Then, later, there's the question that reveals everything: what did I miss? The answers are both simple and profound, the small daily rituals, the hard-won triumphs, the disappointments that reshaped them, the joy that surprised them when they thought they had run out of surprises. As they trade these stories, they're not just catching up. They're re-entering each other's lives with a patience that keeps the door from slamming. People fall for this story because it feels like an argument for hope. It says that even after distance and detours, after seasons of being fine on your own, there remains the possibility of a love that returns wiser. It reminds us that timing isn't just about luck, it's about readiness. And isn't that the beauty of a second chance? That it carries the lessons of the first, without pretending the first didn't hurt? The tenderness we're seeing from them reads like an oath, to try again without trying to pretend. Still, there are moments of quiet negotiation between past and present. They navigate what to keep and what to let fade. They decide which memories are touchstones and which are only signposts pointing toward who they are now. They discuss boundaries before they become barricades. Late night calls stretch into dawn, not because they are clinging, but because they are choosing. Choosing to understand the small frustrations that used to explode, choosing to offer context where impatience once lived, choosing to be brave enough to ask for what they need. Courage doesn't look like fireworks here, it looks like consistency. If you catch them together, what stands out isn't a grand display but a visible calm. They walk side by side without the need to announce it. They listen, they defer, they smile in that quiet way people do when they're remembering a joke only two people know. There's a steadiness to their presence, like they've decided not to measure this by spectacle but by depth. And when a camera catches a moment, an unguarded look, a warm silence, you can sense the history between them. It shows not as drama, but as ease. None of this means it will be effortless. That's not how real reunions work. Old patterns sometimes tug at the edges. The pace of their separate worlds still demands negotiations. Even joy demands maintenance. But the difference now is the agreement beneath everything: we will meet the hard parts together. That promise, as small as it sounds, changes the storyline. It turns obstacles into work they're willing to do. It transforms time into a collaborator rather than a thief. From what we've seen, the way they've reconnected makes sense for who they are today. They've each come to value quiet over clamor, intention over impulse. They're not trying to outrun gossip or choreograph a narrative. They've learned that the heart of a relationship isn't in the caption, it's in the space between two people who understand each other better than they did before. It's in short messages at impossible hours and in shared breakfasts that taste like relief. It's the long game, not of endurance for endurance's sake, but of gentleness applied consistently. Think of the private markers we don't see: a note tucked into a book, a favorite song replayed on a late drive, a text that simply says "here." These are the fragments that build their present. They're discovering that home can be as small as a corner of a room where one sits and the other speaks softly, as simple as a question asked without fear. The chemistry is still there, yes, but it's been joined by something sturdier. Trust that can close the gap between two busy lives, affection that doesn't ask to be proven in public, love as a daily practice instead of a rare event. If you've been following their journey, perhaps you sense the same thing we do, a story that didn't end so much as it paused. Now it continues with more patience, more laughter, and a tenderness that comes only from having lived apart long enough to know the cost of absence. There is no rush to label every moment. There is, instead, a deliberate choice to honor the rhythm that feels right to them. And as we watch, we're reminded that the best reunions don't erase the past, they redeem it. So, what does it all add up to? A connection that feels rooted and real. A romance reborn not as a mirror of what was, but as a wiser version of itself. A possibility that invites us to believe time can be a friend when we use it to understand ourselves. For Cenk, Torun and Mahassine Merabet, the thread that once frayed has been carefully knotted. The line holds. You can feel it in the way they look a second longer, in the way their voices ease when they speak to each other, in the peace that seems to follow them like a shadow. As we close, we want to hear from you. Do you believe a love can return stronger after years apart? Have you witnessed a reunion that made you reconsider what timing means? Share your stories and thoughts. We read them all. And if this journey moved you the way it moved us, stay connected to Secrets Behind the Stars. Like this video, pass it along to someone who loves a comeback, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. There are more stories to tell, and more moments like this to unwrap, quietly, carefully, with all the care a second chance deserves.